nutshell, a tale of hard work, isolation, and a bit of ballot tampering. Now, essays are due on Thursday, just 500 words, and we'll have the exam on Friday. Casey, please get your feet off the desk. Are there any questions? Yes, Ashley?
Okay, so I was planning on interviewing my grandmother, but she went down to visit my aunt in Fort Lauderdale.
Well, perhaps you could do a telephone interview.
I think my aunt has email. Would that be all right?
Well, that would be fine, Ashley. An excellent use of the internet. Chris, you look puzzled.
Well, I've only lived here a couple of years, and honestly, it was in 1906. How does this relate to me?
Well, perhaps you could take a look at the role of women, or Native Americans, or your particular interests, horses and boys. Is there anything else, Tristan, Terry?
Well, I wanted to write about basketball, but I don't think it was invented yet.
Well, a lot of small towns had baseball teams. Try researching that. Casey?
Is it true what they say about Paul Bunyan?
I'm not even going to dignify that question with a response. Come to think of it, check with your English teacher. I think tall tales might be a good subject. Well, the bell's about to ring, and I have a faculty meeting. See what you can get done this week, and I'll see you all next week.
My head hurts.
Seems like your head always hurts.
Oh, I just remembered. My grandmother's emails are like endless.
I'm never gonna find time to finish this essay. We have a game this weekend.
Maybe we could all use the same essay. She'll never read them anyway. Let's fail the test. Sleep. Maybe old lady Koochiching will catch him napping.
you staring at? Well, you know, I haven't seen anyone stare like that since old Ole Olafson threw his axe right down through the middle of the church social out of Birchdale. He wasn't trying to show off. He was just trying to show how accurately he could cut a pie from 20 feet away.
Like, who are you?
Oh, name's Bunyan. Paul Bunyan. The third. Well, my dad was Paul Bunyan Jr., and he used to march in those parades, you know, downtown International Falls on the 4th of July, but he was dead before you were born. And then his dad died even before I was born. And he's buried down in Kelliher. Oh, his tombstone says, "Here lies Paul, and that's all." The grave's about 75 feet long. Of course, they say he shrunk a bit, you know, in his old age. Of course, my dad was a big man, too.
Well, how big was he? It took 15 storks to deliver him to the Lafork Hospital. Oh, no.
They used to use one of his boots as a hotel in Big Falls. Till one cold winter day it got boiled down and eaten by 15 starving lumberjacks.
And who are they?
Oh, let me introduce my friends. That's Violet Anderson, class of 1914. And then that's Daisy Hill. She's the valedictorian of the class of 1918. And then over there, that's Slim Pearson, and he was the best historian of the class of 1922. Is anyone else back there?
Well, I'm Sid Schneiderman, class of 1950. Joe Average.
They call me Smokey Robinson. I was a trivia champion from the class of 46.
It's nice to see, but it still seems like someone's missing.
Oh, I don't see who.
Babe! I almost forgot Babe!
I heard him.
Come on out, fellas.
I heard him on that side.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, come on. Don't be shy. Come on. That's nice.
What are you all doing here? Oh, well, we're here to help you with your county history assignment, and we're mighty excited to be here.
Well, even Babe's excited. I bet you didn't know. Settle down, Babe. I bet you didn't know that Babe straightened out, well, his grandfather straightened out the Rainy River. I mean, before then it was all corkscrews and backwashes. Then one day, my grandfather tied the end of the Rainy River to Babe's tail, and he started pulling.
Excuse me, Paul. Oh, but we have to tell about the county.
Well, that's what I'm doing.
Oh, I think we better stick to the facts.
Facts?
Yeah.
Facts?
Yeah.
Well, what I'm telling is the truth for the most part. I mean, people in Koochiching have always been known to stretch things a little.
Yeah, well, that's a fact.
Yes.
And another fact is, the only thing they couldn't change around here was change itself. Why, they grew up expecting changes.
Yes,
They
that's
thought a change excited them. Why? Changes like steamboats,
Electricity.
Threshing machines, gas lamps, steel plows.
cotton gins,
Cotton gins. Up here.
well, telephones, and
Yeah.
they hadn't thought of automobiles and airplanes yet.
Now, when my grandfather was a little boy, if you can ever imagine him being little, his mom used to sing him a song, a lullaby about change. Now, how did that go? When I was just a wee lad, beside my mother's knee, she touched my cheek and whispered of things she'd never see. I still recall her wonder and will until I die. I can't forget the sweet words of her gentle lullaby. still pull wagons? Will oxen still draw plows? Will trains still toot their whistles to chase away the cows? Will steamships ply the rivers? Will sails still rule the sea? Will ships float in the air, dear? Now that I'd like to see. Paul Bunyan, just think of all you see. Paul Bunyan, oh, Paul Bunyan, please take a look for me.
Will ladies still wear dresses and men wear union suits?
Will girls still braid their tresses and boys outgrow their boots? Will children still love ice cream? Will pancakes make them smile?
Will I still get mine too, dear? Or will snuff go out of style?
Paul Bunyan, just think of all you see. Paul Bunyan, oh, Paul Bunyan, please take a look for me. Will forests last forever? Will streams run wide and clear? Will rainbows still chase showers? Now don't you worry, dear. Will neighbors still help neighbors when they grow tired or ill? Will parents love their children? Oh, I no doubt they will. Paul Bunyan, just think of all you see. Paul Bunyan, oh, Paul Bunyan, please take a look for me. No, things were changing, that's for sure.
Well, yeah. Think about it. This place was used to change. I mean, when the first peoples came, they could even hunt Arctic caribou and bison and even mastodons. You know, those furry elephants with the long tusks.
Well, hundreds of generations of First Peoples lived here, and then probably about 400 years ago, some French-Canadian explorers traveled through, and then they were followed by the voyageurs, who came and they traded their pots and pans and blankets for furs.
Some traders and farmers settled on Canadian land, but it wasn't until the 1870s that the first white settler made a permanent home on the south shore of the Rainy River.
He built a cabin beside a giant waterfall, a waterfall some people called Koochiching.
Now, Tristan, I'm sure you've heard of the ballad of Alexander Baker of Scotland, the first white settler on Koochiching.
No.
No.
How? What?
No?
No?
Well, how can you do a report on the county without that? I'll tell you what. Oh, first of all, Slim, Sid,
Yeah.
could you take Babe back to the barn?
Sure. Oh, sure.
Every time
Come on,
Babe
Babe.
hears
Come
the
on, Babe.
ballad of Alexander Baker, he starts a blubbering. And let me tell you, when Babe starts a weeping, there's no telling what kind of flooding's gonna follow.
Alexander by name, from an old baker fame, was a young man who left old ties behind him, who turned from kith and kin
romantic.
Yep. Oh, romantic? The reality might have been a little different.
I think so.
Well, we'll never know.
Oh, actually, I think we could arrange a visit with Alexander Baker himself. Are you game for that, Tristan? I don't know. Well,
sure.
Come on, it'll be as easy as dreaming. Just pretend you're a reporter. Take this hat, this press hat, and this notebook, and pretend you're interviewing the old gentleman. Why, it'll be that easy. Now, we just need Alexander Baker. Where is Alexander
He should be. Oh, my
Baker?
goodness.
There he is. There's that old bat.
Good day to all of you. It's been a good day. I understand there's a reporter in the crowd who has a couple of questions for me. Well, hey, you go ahead and ask me your questions then.
Were you the first person in Koochiching County?
No. The first people, Native Americans they were. And they were here for hundreds, nay, thousands of years before I ever set eyes on the place.
And were you born in Koochiching County?
No. I was born across the Atlantic Ocean in a wee town in Bonnie, Scotland. Do you know where Scotland is, young man?
No.
Has anyone a map to show this young man where beautiful Scotland is? Aye! Right there at the arrow is Scotland, a beautiful country. But not much opportunity for young men such as myself to make a living, so we went to another new world to find our fame and fortune.
Yes, and how did you get here?
I took a ship. How else would I get here, you great silly? When I came before the great American Civil War, and I fought in the war too. Well, after the war, I found myself on the banks of Lake Superior. Do you know where Lake Superior is, young man? I wonder if there's another map that we could show this young man where Lake Superior. Oh! There it is, Lake Superior. And when I was there, I heard there was gold and copper and other precious metals up this way. So I paddled and I portaged, and I portaged and I paddled, and I paddled and I portaged, till I found myself at the end of Lac Le Pluie, which is French for Lake of the Rains, or as you call it, Rainy Lake. And it was there that I heard the roar of the great waterfall they called Koochiching. So I decided to make me home at the base of those falls, and for all practical purposes, and to answer your question, I was the first white settler to ever make this land his own.
So how did you make a living?
That was a bit of a trick. I had to leave my cabin early in the morning and go looking for gold and copper and other minerals. And I traded in furs, too, and I traded those furs to the Hudson Bay Company in Fort Francis.
May I ask, did you have a family?
I never found any women who wished to make me own. But my nephew Joseph, that's another story. Ooh, he had a family on his own land.
What happened to your homestead?
That I'm embarrassed to tell you. I sold it. I sold it for a wee bit of money to a rich man from Minneapolis. All but 1 acre. I kept that acre for myself. They called it Baker's Acre.
Just one more question, and I hope it isn't too personal. Did you always have a beard?
Me nephew Joseph used to say I must have been born with a beard. But it isn't true. You got to remember, a beard kept a man's face warm in the winter and kept off the nasty mosquitoes in the summer. But one day they painted me a picture beside my cabin with me old beard on it, and that's the way I'll always be remembered, as an old man with a beard. But that's the way with history, isn't it?
Thank you, Mr. Baker. That is all the questions I have.
You're welcome, you're welcome.
Tristan, come over here. Alexander Baker was not the only one that was interested in gold. Here, have a seat.
Well,
There were plenty of prospectors along the shores of the lakes here.
Well, that's true about the prospectors, but it's also true that geologists claim that the lakes in this area were caused by glaciers. That's those mountains of ice that are just thousands of feet high. Well, as they moved, they scraped and scraped and scraped over the ground. And as they scraped, they uncovered some very precious minerals.
Of course, other people say the lakes were formed when Babe, the giant blue ox, got lonely and heartsick for the love of his life, Bessie the cow. And he started dragging his feet, and everywhere that he stepped, today there's a lake.
Well, it may have been Glacier, and it may have been Babe. I only know that eventually some government geologists came to the border country to take a look at things. These rock hounds spent long days hiking and digging and scraping and taking notes on what they found. Some of them found something that excited them a lot. They spelled it G-O-L-D, gold. This was the source of the gold fever.
That's right, and if you found gold around here, you can just imagine how hard it was to keep it to yourself. And if you had claim for a mine, well, you might as well not even try to keep it a secret. You know, I wonder if there's some geologists that could help you learn even more. Well, look, here's one now.
Hello there, friend. It is so good to see you.
Hello, CJ. It's been a long time.
Oh, that's not surprising. This country's enormous.
Tell me about it. I'm now talking to trees. It's like, hello there, Tamarack. I'm so pleased to meet you. Hello, young pine. You are looking quite well.
Trees by the dozen, but nary a human.
Not even geologists like you and like me.
Oh, that reminds me. Have you seen Benny? I'm getting quite worried.
Actually, I just saw his pick as he was climbing that hill.
Oh, let's compare notes before he arrives there.
Oh, I am quite certain
Yes?
that I have found gold.
Hold down your voice. Do you want to get murdered? People will kill around here for that news.
Quiet. Here's Benny. Let's keep this our secret.
I will if you will, and that is not true.
CJ, Fred, how are you?
Hi there, friend Benny. It's so good to see you.
We were just talking about gold.
Oh,
I mean you.
Now, he means the golden rule of geologists there.
yes.
Let's compare notes and see what we've come up with.
I've seen long glaciation and residual soil.
Schistone and siderite
And iron formations.
Stratification and conglomeration.
Sulfide potholes.
And igneous intrusion.
I've seen quartz.
Granite.
And the erratic.
Chert.
Jasper.
And more erratic.
Intrusion and bedding.
Potholes and pebbles.
Serpentine olivine.
Don't forget siltstone.
Quartz.
Granite.
And gold-bearing quartz veins.
Chert.
Jasper.
And
tell me there, Ben, have I said how I miss you?
Oh, I know.
I miss you more, I can tell you right now.
Now, hold on there, fellas. I was only just kidding. If I had found gold, do you think I'd tell you?
Quite.
Granted.
And one big joker.
And shirt.
Jasper.
And 2 fools for gold. They got a bit to learn about gold, those 2 rock hounds.
Yeah, gold sure can turn a fella's head. That's right. Oh, where is that? Oh, here it is, this history book here. Oh, wow. Old Koochiching by Paul Bunyan Jr. My dad. Look here. I'll show you a little bit here. Oh, kind of dusty and all. Oh, boy. Bless you. All right, look here, Tristan. It says that hundreds of people got the fever about 1894 when gold was discovered by a prospector panning on the shores of Rainy Lake. His name was G.W. Davis. And soon a new town sprang up on the banks of Black Bay. It was a little village of tents and shacks. It had a post office and a school and a dry goods store and more saloons than you can count on 2 hands. Anyway, look like it was a real town. I gotta tell you, it only lasted a few years. Look, my dad here wrote that as it turned out, it was so expensive to get the gold out of the rock that nobody could make any money doing it. Oh, my, the stories that came out of Rainy Lake City. Now, one story had it that one night, the banker ran into the saloon, and he told everyone how 2 people had just robbed the bank and taken all of their money. Well, it didn't take very long at all for everyone in that saloon to be up and out and in a canoe and paddling as hard as they could, going after the robbers. And then they realized that the banker wasn't with them. They figured that he had robbed his own saloon. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Look, there's a seat over there at that poker table. Why don't you go have a seat? Go on. It's all right.
dance, wasn't it, Paul?
Oh,
Did you see that? Hey, I heard you telling a story a little bit ago about the robbery of Rainy Lake City Bank. I was there, saw the whole thing, and I've written a poem about it.
Have a seat.
Why, by all means, sir. Thank you very much. "'Twas a blistering night in '96, without a breeze or moon, and yet 4 miners sat ice stiff at the Rainy Lake City Saloon. They eyed their cards and sometimes sighed, but none would show his hand. Each was afraid he'd lose his shirt, or his watch, or his wedding band. The stakes were too high, and the night too young, and the men too hot to think. No one would smile or part his lips, not even to take a drink. The man behind the bar grew wild, his patience withered away. If not for the gun on the table, he'd have told them to leave or pay. While his temperatures peaked and temper soared, a man came in the door. Wimple, the banker, was sobbing. His hoarse whisper demanded the floor. "Robbed! I've been robbed!" he blubbered. Wiping his chin with his thumb, the crowd, all small depositors, sat transfixed and numb. "Two men asked me to cash their bonds. When I opened the safe, they pulled guns. I tell you, they've taken your savings. I tell you, they're on the run." When the news sank in, some hollered, "You coward, you're speaking in jest." "They fled with all your money," he sobbed. "I think they've headed west." Well, in seconds, the bar stood empty. In mere moments, the bar stood empty. Empty except for the 4. While the others went chasing robbers, they still eyed the cards they bore. It was hours that way as the stars grew dim and the moon peeked through the pines. They sat like marble statuettes, counting their jacks and nines. At last, as the blue jay called the dawn, the dealer found his voice. "How many cards you want there, John? Not that you've got a choice." The miner known as Big John Stevens stirred in his chair and spat. "Give me 2, you son of a gun, and I'll ask for more than that. I'll ask for your opinion, Sam. Was that banker right as rain? Or did his story seem too pat and his blubbering seem feigned?" Sam peeled 2 cards from off the tile, then dealt these solemn words. "That banker's crookeder than dirt, and his story's for the birds." With that, Sam gave himself 3 cards and 2 to the other men. They studied what their luck had brought, and then silence reigned again. At 6 a.m., Sam spoke his mind. "I'll tell you what, Big John, let's fold this bet. Let's fold this hand and bet instead that the banker is long gone." John stroked the sweat from off his brow. "Oh, bet he's back by noon. But I agree he robbed himself before he came into the saloon." With the new bet set, they waited to see if Wimple would be caught. Meanwhile, townsfolk down the lake were harboring second thoughts. Their posse out to catch 2 skunks had begun to smell a rat. Truth was, Wimple hadn't joined their chase. Were his robbers not a fact? Had they set course for Koochiching while the banker made for Tower? With that, they turned their craft back east and gave them all their power. Miles later, they came upon him in a stolen bark canoe. Wimple raised his hands in fear and told them all he knew. The robbers were the stuff of dreams concocted from thin air. Their guns had been imagined, and their gold lay in his care. The posse, so impressed they were with Wimple's loss of guile, they decided to forego a plea, an imprisonment, or a trial. Instead, they headed home while laughing all the way. They found skullduggery a joke. The theft had made their day. in the Rainy Lake City Saloon. Stevens prepared to lose the bet as the clock tick-tocked towards noon. But at 10 to 12, the posse came, laughing from the dock. Behold, the banker, like a guest, was joining in the talk. The players who sat still all night could not believe their eyes, for the sight of the banker called the bet. John Stevens had won the prize.
Well, I'll be darned,
Sam Johnson groaned.
I guess you held the ace. I just never thought that cur would ever show his face.
Well, the posse saw him up to the bar and laughed about the crime. Oh, this is the first time we've been robbed and haven't lost a dime. The banker said he'd pay them back and add 2,000 more. And with that, the posse laughed again and raised him from the floor. The celebration carried on till moonbeams plied Black Bay, and most kept laughing till the dawn outshone the Milky Way. That story, it seemed, was told each time Snooze hit the brass spittoon that sat beside the polished bar of the Rainy Lake City Saloon. And poor Sam Johnson, who'd lost the game, his pride, and all his gold, bristled every time the tale of the self-robbed bank was told. But such were the lives of prospectors who'd gathered up their pluck to search for gold in '96 and only found bad luck.
Was there really a gold rush up here?
Well, yes. Have a seat, have a seat. Hundreds of people. Okay, well, look here. Old Koochiching by Paul Bunyan Jr. My dad. All right. He wrote here. He wrote here that unfortunately gold supplies proved too expensive to mine, and most people headed to other fields. At about this same time, settlers started to arrive, and they had heard stories of rich soil, and they'd seen ads in newspapers about cheap land. And so the settlers came, staked out property, and made improvements, and built log homes, and started clearing the land and things like that. By 1900, towns were being organized, and so were churches and schools. But many of the early settlers in Koochiching County made part of their living from the woods. They sold logs from their homesteads, and some men spent winters in a logging camp to earn extra money. Of course, many men were loggers by profession. They called it following the forest, cutting down trees for the pulpwood and the paper making and the lumber. Now, those old-time loggers, oh, they had so many stories to pass on to the younger loggers. Imagine yourself, or a young logger. You get up in the morning, you eat this big breakfast, and then you go out into the forest and you chop down trees all day long, and then you come back to the camp and you have a huge supper. And then you sit around and listen to the stories of these old loggers, and then you turn in. It's time for bed. Look, Tristan, over there is a young logger writing a letter home to his sister telling about life in the logging camp. Let's listen.
Dear little sister, sure was good to see you last Sunday. What a surprise. Thanks for the wild plum preserves and the soap. I'll save them for a special day. The preserves, that is. The soap will be really useful on bath nights, though there won't be many of those come the really cold weather. Things are going fine here. I hardly have time for anything but working and eating and sleeping. We're in the woods at daybreak, right after breakfast. The cookie brings our lunches to the work site, and then it's chop, 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 and saw, 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 all day long till the dinner bell rings. Oh, we're into the big white pine now. Boy, it sure is majestic. Well, my job is mostly helping the logs get loaded up on the sleds to bring down to the riverbank for the spring drive when the snow melts, when the ice melts too. The food here sure is something. It's all we can eat. The pancakes are great, and the apple pie, it's the best I ever tasted. Next to Aunt Thelma's, that is. Speaking of food, funny thing, we never talk during meals. I reckon it's because they're worried some loggers are gonna get in a fight over who chopped down the most trees or who's got the biggest axe. But afterwards, when the lumberjacks are getting ready for bed and hanging up their wet clothes, someone's always a jabbering. There's a couple of old loggers here that know an awful lot about Paul Bunyan, the giant logger. Oh, those old timers sit next to the camp stove nearly every night and trade stories about Paul Bunyan. Sis, did you know that Paul Bunyan outgrew his cradle when he was only 3 days old? He started to shave when he was 6 months old. Cut down his first tree when he was 1. By the time he was 7, he could look over the tops of most pine trees. And that's not the half of it. Oh, the stories I heard.
You know, Paul Bunyan was 12 years old that winter of the blue snow. They say it got so cold that winter that when you spoke out loud, your words, they just froze right in midair. It wasn't until the next spring that all those words thawed. Well, you can imagine all of the hubbub when the temperature got above freezing. They say 112 settlers went deaf that March because of all the noise. It's true.
That was the winter that Paul's blue ox appeared. Now, everybody knows his name was Babe. But what you might not know is that he really was blue. I'll tell you why. I say, the winter was so cold and the blue snow so deep that Babe turned blue just to blend in.
Oh, I say Babe turned blue because he was a straining and a groaning. He was pulling an island from Rainy Lake to Capitogama. It was in the way in the Brule Narrows for a log boom coming down that little narrow passage. Yeah, and that wasn't the only time that Babe changed the landscape around here. Oh, one time he got so upset he started a stomping and a weeping and his tears, they dropped. And wherever his feet fell, wherever those tears dropped, well, that's how all the muskeg swamps came to be around here.
Oh,
it's true.
The muskeg, yeah.
The swishing of his tail caused a tornado that cleared out all the giant mosquitoes in the county. Those mosquitoes had wingspans of 14 feet. And just one could suck a moose dry in under 3 seconds.
Suck a moose. You know what? I was the first one around these parts to meet Paul Bunyan. Yeah, I was. I was climbing a small hill down by Dead Man's Rapids, and, well, turned out it wasn't a hill at all. It was one of Paul's fingers. He'd laid down to take a nap there, and he sort of rested his hand in the stream to keep cool. Well, I'd laid into his finger pretty hard with my boot spikes. I woke him up. He nearly swatted me. Thought I was a black fly. Oh, you should have seen him laugh when he saw the look on my face.
Paul stayed a while at my camp. Sure made the work a lot easy. Not only did he and Babe outwork everybody, he taught Big Tom McHugo how to use a double-bitted axe and clear off trees both sides of the line at the same time. That was the year Sourdough Sam appeared and invented sourdough pancakes at my camp.
Oh, no. He invented those at our camp. Yeah, that was Paul's favorite food. And he just cooked them to fill Paul up. Those cakes were so big that to cook them, the camp blacksmith, he hammered out an iron griddle so wide that to grease it, the cook's helpers, they called them bull cooks, you know. Well, they'd have to put slabs of bacon around their feet there, and then they'd skate over the surface to grease that griddle. It's true.
All right, bacon feet. But what you forgot was the syrup for those pancakes. I'll tell you where the syrup came from. Giant maple trees up the Black. They had to use rain spouts to tap those trees. And they used to collect it in huge wooden water towers, and they'd boil that sap for 3 weeks till it was reduced to syrup. And you want to know how many gallons Paul Bunyan used of that syrup on every pancake?
Five.
No,
Ten.
not 10, not 20, not 30, not 40, not 50. 72 on every pancake. It's true.
72. 82 gallons on every pancake. Sister, you get the idea. Well, I sure am tired. That's all I have time to write you for this week. Take care. Oh, yeah. I almost forgot to mention. We even learned a song about Paul, about when he first came up here to northern Minnesota. I'll sing it for you when I get back to town.
When Koochiching was a young county, a land of pine forests and rocks, a giant came seeking his bounty, and so did his giant blue ox.
And so did his giant blue ox named Babe, and so did his giant blue ox.
Paul loved what the land had to offer, so he hung up his hat and his socks.
And those socks were so big, why, you could use them as a blanket or a sleeping bag.
The settlers soon gathered. The settlers soon gathered in wonder to see what had made the earth shake.
They figured Paul's footsteps were thunder and laughed when they saw their mistake.
Paul Bunyan, he laughed and he cracked a grin and bent down to say howdy do.
Now Babe and I both are a-willing, just show us the work we can do.
The pioneer said, yes, you betcha! Well, there's plenty of work to be done.
Just make sure the skeeters don't get ya whenever they block out the sun.
They told him the winters could freeze a fire, and summers could melt a steel spike.
Well, Paul laughed and he laughed and confided.
Now, those are all things that I like.
They started their work in the morning and worked till the dinner bell rang. At night they ate supper in silence, then sat by the camp stove and sang. They sat by the camp stove and sang, they sat by the camp stove and sang. Paul Bunyan's a hero in our camp, we're glad that he's part of our gang. lumberjacks pray. We give thanks our workday is over, and tomorrow's another new day. That's right. Tomorrow's another new day, new day. Tomorrow's another new day. We'll work till the winter is over, so we can head home with our pay. Woo.
It's about time to turn in. Tristan, that's your bunk over there.
Do you think I could start with, it was a dark and stormy night?
I think that's been used before.
How about,
You dreaming? Come on, wake up. The's a lot more history to learn.
Whoa, you're still in here.
Yeah, I didn't want you to miss the discovery of Koochiching Falls by young Edward Wellington Backus.
I thought Alexander Baker discovered Koochiching Falls.
Well, let me rephrase that. Here. I have my grandfather's history book here. Old Koochiching by Paul Bunyan Jr. My dad. All right, right here. Look at this. He wrote, there it is, well, wait a minute, what is, oh, there it is. He said that the first peoples were actually the first to see the glory of old Koochiching Falls. But by the time of the great westward expansion, it was across Canada and the United States, okay, thousands of people had seen it. And by the time of the Industrial Revolution, Koochiching Falls glistened in the moonlight like a beacon. Oh, my dad is so poetic. Anyway, said around 1900, an adventurous young lumber baron from Minneapolis arrived to check it out. That was Edward Wellington Backus. And he used to say that he arrived one cold wintry night on snowshoes, saw the waterfall, and decided to stake his future to this country. And soon he was planning railroads and a power dam and a great industrial city. Look, there he is now with his guide.
Oh,
Bacchus meet Alexander Baker?
No, now remember, Alexander Baker sold all but 1 acre of land, all but Baker's Acre, remember? That was a bunch of, well, not a bunch, really a few Minneapolis businessmen convinced him to do that. Later, they hooked up with Ed Bacchus, all right? Now, it was Rockwood and Winchell and Bacchus and Brooks, and they formed this land company on the south side of the Rainy River. They called it Koochiching.
And it stayed Koochiching until Ed Bacchus and others had it changed to International Falls.
Who lived there?
Old loggers, miners, young business people. Called themselves boomers. They were booming the area, trying to get more people up here.
Well, that's right. And all those new neighbors, well, they call them neighbors, but they were separated by long distances. Why? They had to walk the old deer trails through the woods or cut new roads through the forest. Or, if they could, they'd take canoes or rowboats or steamboats if they were lucky.
Yeah, and well, the men were cutting down the trees or plowing the fields. The women, well, they were keeping the wood stoves going. Oh, they worked hard. Well, they gardened, and then they canned the food they gardened, and then they fed their kids the food that they'd canned after they'd gardened, and then they, well, worked and worked and worked. They only had a few chances to get together and visit. They would like picnics and holidays, and, well, they loved it when they could get together to mend some clothes or even create a quilt like this one.
Oh, yeah. Look, Tristan, here come some quilters from the Little Fork River. Now, just pretend like you're sick in bed. Just lay down, lay down.
Well, ladies, it seems that Mrs. Swenson won't be joining us today.
Mabel, I told you she's going to town today.
Oh, Helen, you never tell me anything.
I do. You never remember anything.
I must say Tristan is looking much better.
I think so, too. The grip is going around. Mabel, I hope your boys don't catch it.
Oh, they're strong as horses. Well, anyway, you were saying about Mrs. Swenson. Is she going to Koochiching today, or is she walking to Little Fork?
Steamer. She's taking the steamer Agwinda to Koochiching.
No, she isn't.
Yes. Eric Larson just told me this morning on his way through the farm.
I mean, if she's taking the steamer, she isn't going to Koochiching. She's going to International Falls.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Oh, you didn't say so.
I don't know why they changed the name to International Falls. I just learned how to say Koochiching.
Well, I think they should have named it Phoenix. You know, like the bird that dies in the fire and then rises to life again out of the ashes. Oh, you should have seen Koochiching before the big fire. It was a real pretty town, right there on the banks next to the waterfall. It's just a shame it had to burn down.
Seems a town isn't a town around here unless it burns down once or twice. Same thing with Little Fork and Fort Francis and Quartet.
And all because of a woman's vanity.
What do you mean?
Well, the big Koochiching fire. All on account of one of those, curling irons. Well, they say that there was a young girl getting her hair all curled up to go to one of those dances they have, and she had set the curling iron on top of the kerosene lamp to get hot. Well, I think she let it get a little too hot. She went and grabbed it, knocked the kerosene lamp over. Next thing you know, entire business district up in flames.
Oh, the wicked ways of women.
Oh, yes, yes, the wicked ways of women.
Is that story true?
Well, it's what they say.
Fire scares me. Has done ever since that forest fire last August. Burned the 2 homesteads down next to ours. Not a tree or an animal left. I've been keeping buckets ready by the barn just in case some sport gets loose.
Oh, we're lucky where we live. We can always just jump into the river. Or we can take a skiff. Last summer, the smoke was going on forever. Up from Canada, Joe said. I had the rowboat all ready to go.
Well, I think you should.
Well, thank heavens, we've had some good rains lately.
Oh, yes. That
Yes.
has helped quite a bit.
Yes. You know, ladies, I can't understand that Mrs. Svensson, how she can afford to go to the city so often.
Oh, well, I think it's scandalous.
Yes.
Of course, that's what happens when you come to the frontier with money.
Oh, they had money?
Well, sold a big farm in Wisconsin before coming up here. Well, that's what they say. And of course, him being able to sell off timber from their homestead the very first winter.
And so young.
Yeah.
And no children. Of course, it wouldn't surprise me if she went up the river today to get material for a baby gown.
You're making that up.
I have an eye for these things, June. I'm an experienced midwife. Just you wait and see.
Honestly, I barely know a thing. Except she has a sewing machine.
And she still comes here once a month to sew with us?
Well, it's for the company, ladies. It's for the company. And I think she likes us.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Oh, we really shouldn't be talking about her.
Oh, I suppose. Oh, I hear that Bunyan girl is looking for a dance date for the church social.
Oh, thank heavens she's too old for Tristan.
Well, too old and too big. Those Bunyans are a beefy lot. Mabel! Have you seen her? My gracious sakes. I just don't understand how they can grow that big.
Hey, Mrs. Johnson. Hey, Mrs. Linklater. Hey, everybody. Hey, Tristan. Can Tristan come to the powwow across the river?
Well, if he's feeling up to it.
Well, can you at least come help push the stagecoach out of the mud? It got stuck on its way out of Little Fork.
Tristan, all right, I suppose. Now you two be home before supper. Carl Lindstrom, you can come too. Mabel, I get nervous about those powwows ever since the talk of the rebellion.
Oh, I know you. You're just afraid your darling Tristan will fall in love with a beautiful Indian maiden and go off and become a trapper. Don't worry, he'll be fine. I have an eye for these things. No, I think I'd be much more concerned about that Bunyan girl.
Well, I guess love can crop up in the most unlikely places.
What are you saying?
Well, I'll tell you. I took my first ride on that pretty new boat. They call her Itasca, and boy can she float. As we neared Sioux Rapids, she started to keel, but then the new captain took hold of the wheel. The captain is so debonair, just smiled and said, don't have a care. We took on some water before we got there, but on the way home I was floating on air. Now I can't wait till I save the fare for another ride we two could share. And maybe if I put a bow in my hair, he'll think that we make up a pretty good pair.
I thought that I knew all the tricks of true love. It's one of the things that I know something of. I've had 13 children and one on the way. And yet I learn something new every day. My Billy has just started school. like girls as a rule. But then he met Jenny, that new girl from Buell. Now he looks at the moon like a lovesick old fool. In the barn on the old rocking stool, he leans against Bessie and drools. Oh, how can I tell him that Cupid is cruel? And love at 14 just adds fire to the fuel. I tell you, there's something that's strange in the air. I might be important, I shouldn't care. I've taken a look around the old town. Have you seen that old lady I just recently found? Have you seen that old lady named Blue? The one who complains of her room. I swear that she whips up old toads in her blue, and that she takes joyrides upon her old broom. I shouldn't be spreading such gloom, and to be such a prophet of doom. I'm just saying that she's one who needs elbow room. In fact, she's already done her husband's too. Now, ladies, let's put all this gossip behind. We must offer charity to all humankind. Let's quit all this fretting or milk that's been spilt and get back to sewing and finish this quilt. On the other hand, I have some news. Burton's store is now selling white shoes. The train engineer was caught having a snooze. And the 10-foot-long sturgeon sunk 14 canoes. Ooh, Seal's chickens are on the loose. Martin Jacobs found a lost papoose. I hear Mary's husband got drunk and vamoosed. Well, I'll tell you next week if they sign a new truce. I just
Now I ask you, isn't that Paula Bunyan a dream?
More like a nightmare. Is she gone?
Gone, but not forgotten. Tristan, you remember that stagecoach Carl was telling you about? Well, it really was actually more of a wagon. And people used to ride it to get across the bogs to go down and do business at the county seat in Grand Rapids.
International Falls is the county seat. Even I know that.
Come on, let's go over here. Now, this was before there was a Koochiching County. Take your chair. Oh. Here we go. Look here. Old Koochiching by Paul Bunyan Jr., my dad. All righty, here we go. I've got this. Look, he wrote right here that the land up here was all part of Itasca County, which was huge. Itasca was so big that it couldn't serve all of its citizens the same, especially without roads and railroads. You understand that. So the people began to talk about creating a new county in the north end of Itasca. Now, in fact, some people thought there should be more than one county created, or North Home or Big Falls being a county seat. Oh, look, there's Miss Annie Shellen. Now, she was the first teacher up here, and she would just tromp through muskegs to get to other schools to teach. And then that's the Reverend Thomas Howard, and he would walk miles and miles from community to community just to be able to preach. Looks like they might be waiting for the same stage. Probably that one that's stuck in the mud outside Little Fork.
Well, good morning, Miss Shelland.
Oh, good morning, Reverend Howard. Don't tell me we're taking the same stagecoach.
Yeah, Miss Shelland, you know as well as I do that a rickety old wagon pulled by a lame horse is hardly worthy of the name stagecoach.
And your destination this morning, Reverend?
Grand Rapids.
Mine as well.
I'm surprised you're not walking, Annie. Why, you're gaining quite a reputation around here as a teacher who will walk any muskeg swamp just to get to the next school. Why, they're even calling you Muskeg Annie behind your back.
And to my face. And what about you? You are known as a preacher who will walk any moose trail to reach the next logging camp.
I catch a ride when I can.
Oh, it won't be long before trains make our journey a lot shorter and safer. Stagecoach passengers can be a little, shall we say, overspirited.
Speaking of which, I'm a little concerned about our driver. I understand he's been spending a lot of time at the Little Fork Saloon.
I think he has eyes for the bartender's daughter. But I think he's courting her. But doesn't bother me. I'm in no great hurry, so.
Do you have business in Grand Rapids? Not that I need to know.
Oh, I need to file some papers about my homestead. And I wish to catch a couple of county commissioners and bend their ear about the need for roads and schools in the northern part of the county.
Oh, it ain't the teacher and the preacher. What you two doing, eloping?
Good morning, Mr. Gustafson. Your sense of humor is very sharp this early in the morning. No, Miss Shelland and I are not traveling together, though we are both going to Grand Rapids.
Oh, you're going down there to file a petition, then?
A petition?
Yeah, you know, a list of names to get the governor to call an election.
Well, I know what a petition is. I was wondering which one you were referring to.
Well, any petition to split the county. You know, everybody wants a slice of the pig. Big Falls, they want the ham. North Home, they want the roast. Of course, International Falls wants every sausage like usual.
Well, I must say, it would make things a lot easier around here. Why, I got parishioners up the Rainy River. And they have a hard go at getting the time and the money to go to Grand Rapids to do their business.
Well, just look at us, putting up with a wagon and miles of walking.
Yeah. Just think what happened a couple of years ago when my wife and my kiddies, they come out from Wisconsin, you know. Well, first they got to take a wagon to get to the boat, and then they got onto a steamboat, and then they go down to Rainy Lake, and then they get on another steamboat, and then they go up to Rainy River, and then they get down to the Big Fork, and then they got a canoe all the way up to our homestead near Ripple.
And how are your wife and children, Mr. Gustafson? I haven't seen the boys in school this year.
And are they getting to Sunday school, Gus?
Oh, you'll see them after the garden is in. Yeah, after the garden is in. Yeah, where is that stagecoach?
Well, I just hope that the new county spends what it should on roads and schools. That would make it easier for your boys. Oh, what a fine pickle when the weather is fickle.
I must confess, the roads are a mess,
when you're crossing Itasca? Do you ever feel that you're lost in Alaska?
There's no steamboat, a train, or a cart. Just doing business becomes a fine art.
I use my legs much more than I preach.
And I tread Mustang much more than I teach. Schools, schools. We've got to have schools. Roads, roads. We've got to have roads.
Not if the question is when. Let's start a petition and when.
Oh, the settlers want a county, the townsfolk want it too. Mr. Backus wants a county, Miss Shellen wants it too. Oh, the loggers, the miners, the teachers, the preachers, commercial fishermen, the butchers, the baker, the tinker, the tailor, they all say now is then. Oh, the Yankees, the Swedes, the Czechs and the Finns, and some Canadians, the moose and the deer and the ducks and the geese, they all say now is when.
Schools, schools. We've got to have schools. Roads, roads. We've got to have roads.
Not if the question is when. Let's start a petition and when.
Oh, the ladies want a county, and so do gentlemen. Grand Rapids wants to cut its costs, and who says no to them? Mr. Stanton, Judge Kane, the lady called Nell, and even the Erickson's cow. Dr. Withrow, the Greens, and One-Eyed Jake, they all say then is now. Old Ripple and Big Falls and Gamble and Gein, now they all know the thing. Says Lindbergh in this Loman and Norco, it's time for Koochiching.
Schools, schools.
We gotta have schools. Roads, roads. We gotta have roads. Not if the question is when. Let's start a petition and when.
There are many sides to this issue, Tristan. In the book here, it says that dividing Itasca into smaller parts, it was unsettled. The settlers and the early business people had their own ideas.
Take that young lumberman from Minneapolis, Edward Wellington Backus. He started calling that little town beside the Koochiching Falls his City of Destiny.
Well, that little village to be his City of Destiny. It had to be a place, look here, where it was easy to do business, including county business. So Backus was determined that Itasca should split, that International Falls, right here, my dad wrote that International Falls should become the seat of the new county. King Ed Backus, they started to call him, and he started to pull some strings.
Well, Minneapolis business people watched. Some competitors like Mr. Shevlin opposed him. Other influential business people just sat back and watched the fight. Take, for example, Mr. Crosby and Mr. Pillsbury, who'd made their fortune milling wheat. Can you just imagine a conversation they might have at the Minneapolis Club?
Well, I see young Backus has a Minneapolis Journal in his vest pocket.
What? Not another editorial to boom his back and beyond.
Yes, just listen to this. It needs no telescope to discover that International Falls is coming. She has already arrived.
Arrived? I hear she's got 3 mud streets and that the only nearby railway is in Canada. Now, if that's arriving, I've got some nice property for sale. On the moon.
The article goes on. Nature has done her utmost for this infant seed of empire, etc., etc. The falls of St. Anthony made Minneapolis possible. The falls of Koochiching have made this city inevitable. A second Minneapolis. That seems to be the destiny of International Falls.
Not without help, Mr. Pillsbury, and Edward Backus doesn't know how to ask for help.
You think so? Well, maybe. No, where was I? Let's see. Great wheat fields of the Canadian Northwest, countless millions of feet of pine timber on both sides of the boundary, the most magnificent pulpwood on the continent.
Almost makes you want to pull up stakes and move northward. Too bad it's all just bogs up there, and what's not bogs is prairie.
Now careful. It says here they're talking about building a flour mill. And we have to pay attention when young men start talking about competing against our mills down here in Minneapolis. You have to admit, John, that old Ed Backus is a go-getter. He's proved a few people wrong. They thought he couldn't make $1 on timber, and he's made a few million.
Pillsbury Jones, when E.W. Backus makes his first million on flour, I'll buy you both a steak dinner right here in the club.
Well, Mr. Crosby, listen to this. Seems that young Backus is going to have his own county, too. Seems it's hard to do business in Grand Rapids when you're trying to build a dam and a paper mill in International Falls. He's drawing the new county line with his own railroad.
I tell you, John, it's just all smoke and mirrors, not to be taken seriously. And I don't suppose that paper mentions anything about Mr. Shevlin trying to thwart Ed Backus. Why? I don't know why you read that paper anyway. Well, are you going to read it or not?
Yes, thank you for asking. Itasca County will vote on a proposition for division of the county this fall. The north half of the county wants to go it alone. C.W. Stanton of International Falls was in Minneapolis today and left this afternoon for home, where he will begin the circulation of a petition. If this petition is signed by 25% of the voters of the county, it will be filed and the governor will issue a proclamation submitting it at the general election.
I've heard of this Stanton. Too bad he'll be lost in the bogs before he gets enough signatures.
Yeah.
Well, the new county is to be named Koochiching.
Koochiching. Sounds like a sneeze.
And the county seat is to be International Falls, the booming town on the banks of the Rainy that next year will be the terminus of 2 railroad systems.
The Muskeg Zephyrs. I can see the names of those railways now.
The line of division is agreed on, let's see, an area close to 3,000 square miles and a population of 5,000 people, slightly larger than the part left to Itasca County.
And here, it says, both counties, however, will develop rapidly. The new iron range about Grand Rapids are being developed, and the timber, manufacturing, and agricultural resources of Koochiching County will be great.
Well, 3,000 miles of muskeg and a few white pine trees do not make a farming and manufacturing paradise. No, I can see the two of you withering away long before you get your steak dinner.
I tell you, he's a mover and a shaker. He'll make a fortune milling grain and paper. He's a boomer with the grit of Rockefeller. He makes Jim Hill look like a yellow piker. Beneath those beams of a wintry moon, not the sun, but the moon. And back he swooned, oh how he swooned at the falls of Koochiching.
Those moonlit seas
With the moon and the stars.
all the stuff of wild dreams.
All that man can dream.
Oh, vagabond.
Where has he gone?
In the back of the
say he builds pyramids of paper. He's a man's man, a man supreme, and though no one should sneeze, respect him, please. He's a trainee, and ain't with tricks, losing grip on an old trapeze. He's a man's man, EWB, who could conquer the Greeks and even some Turks. He'll be in luck. He'll need some luck if half his team works. He's turned a silver dollar into millions.
At least that's what he tells his simplest minions.
Time will tell the story of his empire. Old man Time has finally found a buyer. Bacchus is the man for me.
I will back him for a fee. Koochiching is where it's at.
Excuse me while I use my hat. Beneath the beneath on a wintry moon, and back is swoon. Oh, how he swooned at the bottle of Koochiching. Those moonlit scenes are the stuff of wild dreams. Baby dream, we'll see who's right, we'll see who's wrong on some dark dreary night. They come back as king.
That was nice.
You know, soon everybody all over the state was talking about Mr. Bacchus and his plans. Even little kids were talking.
Oh, you must remember, though, people back then lived far apart from each other, so they really didn't have much of a chance to get together.
No, but they loved the 4th of Julys. That's when families gathered from all over.
Tell you what, here come some kids. Now, let's go back to the 4th of July, 1905. They're making up a game to play. Let's watch.
Hello. What's your name?
Elmer?
Elmer what?
Elmer Gustafson.
Where are you from, Elmer Gustafson?
Big Falls. What's your name?
Ginny Norcross, and I'm from North Home. Do you want to play house?
No! But I'll play fort.
Okay.
Hey, look, it's Elmer Gustafson, and he's playing house with Ginny.
I am not. I'm playing fort.
Looks like house
Hey,
to me.
you guys are playing fort? Can I play too? I've got a rope.
How do you play fort with a rope?
Give me that.
No, it's my rope.
Give me that.
Yeah. Well, you can have this end.
What do we call our fort?
Fort Itasca, and I'm queen.
Itasca doesn't have a queen.
Does so?
Where?
Grand Rapids.
Well, I want to be my own king, like King Ed Bacchus in International Falls.
What are you going to be king of? Canada?
No, Koochiching.
Koochiching? What's that? It sounds like a sneeze.
It does not. It's an Indian name, and it's a good name for a new county.
Ooh, Ronnie is a North Ender. Ronnie is a North Ender.
So only crazy people want to live in the North End. That's what my dad says.
Yeah.
Elmer, that's because your dad is cheap, and he just doesn't want to help us.
He's not cheap. He's got a lot of money, and he says Big Falls should have its own county.
Well, my dad says North Home should have its own county.
Big Falls. Big Falls.
Children! What are you doing?
Having an election.
Koochiching by Paul Bunyan Jr., my dad. It says here that, look here, wait a minute. We're gonna get here because I want to find what look, by 1906, Grand Rapids had had about enough. They were looking east of the Great Iron Range as their source of future wealth. And they didn't really want to spend any more money up north at all. So look, even the Grand Rapids Herald-Review lamented, that's their newspaper, lamented saying, "How long, O Lord, how long are we going to stand this drain?" Well, a petition was drawn up, and people signed it, and it was hurried down to St. Paul, that's the state capital. And then on November 7th, an election was held. Yes, sir. November 7th, 1906. Oh, it was a dark, rainy, dreary day, but yet somehow the people made it to the polls. Oh, right.
My, what a storm!
I had to leave my wife back at the cabin. The swamps are full. The steamship Itasca could hardly land at the lower dock.
Now, some people voted more than once that day. Frank Green told Miss Shellen that he voted 50 times, half Democrat and half Republican. And then Miss Shellen said that, just between you and me, half of Fort Francis voted too.
Vote early and often. Come on. Oh, Fort Francis. Good to see you. Oh, did you bring some maple syrup? Oh, yes. Oh, we're gonna win.
Wait, stop!
Why?
Hold up! I've got a paper from Grand Rapids. I don't know if this is gonna work. Someone needs to read this.
Who here can read?
What does it say?
It's called the Anti-Division Advocate.
Well, that doesn't sound good.
It says a new county is a bad idea.
No!
It says we'd all be better off with Grand Rapids as our county seat.
No way.
Oh, that's just Mr. Shevlin thumbing his nose at old Ed back.
What is that?
That's just sour grapes.
Yeah.
Come on, let's vote again.
We're gonna show what we think of the county.
Hurry it up.
I need to vote. If this doesn't do it, I don't know.
We're not gonna have anything. No one's stopping this.
It seems that International Falls has voted for division!
I just heard. What? Grand Rapids Township voted no.
We'll still make
Just send a telegram from Grand Rapids.
Can you read?
To U.S. Commissioner, plurality 500, returns not win, but everyone concedes that we have won.
I've got the official vote. For division, 1370, and against, 893.
It says here, Deer River has petitioned for the creation of Big Fork, Glenwood, and Garfield as additional counties?
No.
We gotta have our coffee.
Quiet!
Man is bad.
Quiet! It's the governor!
Whereas on this 19th day of December 1906, it appears that the notice of election was duly given to the electors of the county of Itasca. And whereas it appears that said proposition has received a majority of the votes cast thereon. Now, therefore, I, John A. Johnson, Governor of the great state of Minnesota, do hereby proclaim, publish, and declare that said county of Koochiching has been duly created and vested.
Big Falls still wants to be Forest County.
Oh, no.
And Deer River wants to be Deer River County. Get our papers.
No. Listen. I just received this telegram from Judge William S. McClanahan of Brainerd, dated February 27, 1907. Order to show cause. Koochiching County matter discharged for lack of Attorney General participation and as a proper exercise of discretion. Papers will be filed within a day or two.
That sounds like we made it! Right? We should celebrate!
Tristan. Right here, on March 6, 1907, they gathered with dignity and good cheer. C.B. Kinney, W.V. Kane, C.J. Montgomery, and John Berg, they planned the affair. Come on over here. The Royal Neighbors ladies of Fort Francis, they served supper to 600 people from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock in the morning. And then the Canadian Friends joined them, and they feasted in the stone building on 3rd Street in International Falls, and they danced till 3. Count them.
3.
At the Village Hall. Now, please have a seat. Now, they weren't really sure if they had a reason to celebrate. But if things turned around, they said, well, at least they'd be one celebration ahead.
I'm not quite sure how to say this, but what happened next?
That's it.
That can't be it.
Well, of course there were other events that happened.
Oh, yes, it's right here in Paul's book.
We need to know the answer.
It says in Paul's book that year by year, more settlers laid claim to homesteads, and many small businesses opened up in town, and railroads began to inch their way up from the south. Oh, and construction. Construction began on that huge dam at International Falls. It's right here, Violet.
Yes. The roar of the waterfall that had attracted Alexander Baker here in the first place and had been listened to for thousands of years by the Native Americans was to be no longer.
Instead, a dam would generate electricity, and people would have electric lights, and there would be power for a giant paper mill and lumber mill in International Falls.
Good idea.
Roads would be built and schools.
And get this, Mr. Edward Wellington Backus, who controlled the dam, the mills, the railroad, and a growing number of logging camps, would have a great influence on the future of the county seat and the county. And his influence would extend to lands for hundreds of miles to the north and west and east.
Oh, that is another story.
Whoa! I am never gonna get this into 500 words.
Maybe we can help you with that.
Sure we can.
94 was the year that the poor pioneer searched for gold on a rainy lake shore. He tested the waters and what should appear but a pan full of bright golden ore.
Those days that you know, there were miners by the score, all prospecting the rainy lake shore. but the rush stopped soon as it grew clear that the gold was poor. Years and years since the gold mines, pick and shovel, one thought stays on our minds, pick and shovel. Oh, the rush stopped soon as it grew clear that the gold was poor. 1900 rolled round and young Koochiching found an investor to build them their dreams. Ed Backus, their man, had the power and the plans for 1,001 nifty schemes. Where Koochiching's built, he saw pulp and paper mills and a city of great destiny. And he pushed hard, making history, and his dreams came true. 100 years after starting up, dreams and muscle, the county's still catching up. Dreams and muscle, 'cause he pushed hard, making history, and his dreams came true.
1906 was the year that petitions appeared that suggested Itasca should split. Grand Rapids built polls so the full strength its role so Canadians could vote just a bit. On December 19,
our great governor decreed that Itasca had spoken its mind. So she split up, never to recombine on an east-west line. 100 years after sundering, count those votes up. Itasca is wondering, count those votes up. How she split up, never to recombine on an east-west line.
1909 was the year that stonemasons shed tears 'cause their work on the Cooch Dam was done. The mists that had glistened for thousands of years no longer would shine in the sun.
The falls that had tumbled where sturgeon loved to run would have roared for 1,000 years more. But they stopped short, never to roar again when the dam was done. 100 years they've been dithering, drip, drop, their power just simmering, drip, drop, but they stopped short, never to roar again when the dam